So Serge, one of your key teachings is on the energetic truth of words and the importance of the energetic truth of words. And so I thought we'd have a bit of fun with this episode, and the way this is going to work is I'll throw you an idiom that's commonly used, and you can bring some ageless wisdom to it, and let's break it apart together. Okay, so what have I got first? Life wasn't meant to be easy.
Wow, okay. That one I do know, that one I do understand. Life wasn't meant to be easy. Life wasn't meant to be static. Life wasn't meant to be, the complexity is when we seek easy. So life is meant to be constantly expanding.
That's beautiful. And you could say life wasn't meant to be easy, but life is meant to be simple.
Correct. The simplicity of life is the constant expansion. And when we when we withdraw or reject or even slow down the speed in which we can actually expand and by virtue of that advance, that's when it becomes complex. Otherwise, it's a simple flow.
Beautiful. Okay, money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, well, if money was the root of all evil, then it has to have its own feet and walk around and do all the damage. Because it has to come out of someone's pocket, out of someone's wallet, and into someone's hand, or transferred by someone's fingers if we're doing EFT transfers, on the bank. So let's look at the energy that's behind the person using the money and the intent. Money is just a currency. It's a beautiful currency, actually, if it's used properly. So it's the misuse of the energy we're aligned to and not understanding vibrational quality of life that leads to materialism being misused.
And can we ask, what if everything is a physical representation of something that's first energetic? What does money represent?
Money represents the glorious way in which we can enrich ourselves and enrich what requires enriching. So if we have the money and we can put it towards something that we know will advance other people, that's the true use of being able to use money. So to me, that's the intelligent use of being wealthy, or the intelligent use of wealth per se. And so we have to back each other until such time that everybody is equal and everybody is worth the same.
One more thing on money. Because money is going to be your output, so you work and you get given money, so therefore it has a relationship to your energy. Because I've heard you speak about it as kidney energy, the reflection of your levels of kidney energy. But what you fuel on will determine the quality of the nature of that money, won't it? Because if you are aligned to a source of energy that is propelling greed, then that money will reflect devastation to communities, because it may just be used to glorify your individuality and not actually advance us all. So that's where, when we say money is the root of all evil, it's not looking at the person and the intent behind it, which is what you offered in the first place. Yeah, we could qualify a new idiom by saying that the quality of form is based on the quality of its formlessness. Wow. Yeah, because we can say that, if money is attached to kidney energy, which simply just means that it's part of our movement, physical-based life force. But the true foundation that qualifies its use, whether it's going to advance or harm, comes from our quality of spleen. So there's a relationship with spleen, which is our repose, and the quality of our kidney, which is motion. So the activity of motion is dependent on what we don't see, but internally develop, which is the spleen. So if we don't have any lack of nurturing, and we have nurturing, then the use of money will be very productive, not only for yourself, but for others equally. Beautiful. So just as a cliff note, the spleen is the organ of, it's an organ that represents repose. Yeah, it's the organ that represents our deepest levels of nurturing. Beautiful. And it's actually the organ that helps us sleep correctly so that we can regenerate and also access multidimensional wisdom overnight, so to speak. It's called the inner temple. Beautiful. Let's go there in another episode, but for now, another idiom.
Okay. Relationships are about compromise.
Wow. Relationships are about ever-expanding love. Anything less than that is a sure damn compromise. In fact, it's abuse. If you don't constantly advance, constantly adore, find new ways of understanding love, adoration, spunk, sexiness, expression, and pure appreciation, then yeah, keep the idiom, because it's a form of abuse.
I mean, we could reword it. You often talk about relationships that are any less than that expansion and enrichment as arrangements. Let's not call them relationships, let's call them arrangements. So in fact, we could say arrangements are about compromise, because that would be true. You're constantly compromising yourself in an arrangement to keep it as an arrangement.
That's correct. I thought this episode was about idioms. Now, if you want to talk about rewriting the dictionary, that's a more pet hobby for me. But that's okay. Let's continue with the idiom. You're right. Relationships are really, currently the word relationship should be arrangement. And one day we'll know what a relationship is, which is an entering into a flow of constant advance with another person, that you are committing to sharing your body with that constant expansion. It's one of the most beautiful constellations that we can have with one another, and it can be with many people, obviously not sexually, but it should be with as many people as possible.
The enriching relationship should be.
Absolutely, yes.
And you heard it here first. Relationships are not just about love, they're about constant advancement and evolution. And that is something that you blew the lid off with a few years ago, when you started to talk about relationships and purpose, and the fact that in this day and age, in the age of Aquarius, where there's all this advance, there's this awareness on offer, it's no longer enough to just say, I love you and let's sit down and watch TV together.
Yeah. All right, so let me give you an idiom then. Ready? So bigger than the magnificent love of two people is the purpose that the two of them can fulfill.
We're going to write a Teachings and Sayings book right here with the amount pouring through.
This is number 5 in the making. Yeah. 4th's already done.
I love that. Okay, this one's a good one. Boys will be boys.
What does the word boy mean?
Exactly, it's already a construct, right? So it's a lie upon a lie. Yeah, I mean, that's fairly obvious.
Are we defining boys as magnificently delicate, beautiful, sensible, sensitive, very loving, spunky, admiring, appreciating? I think I've used delicate already, but let's throw in tender, very tender. Yes, then boys will be boys. But if boys will be boys with thickened skin, rough and tough, dismissive, rejecting and suffering rejection, then
boys will be toxic males.
Exactly. There's your idiom.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, what about this one? Work hard, play hard. That comes courtesy of Simon, my husband.
Yeah, he's my age. That's why I was nearly my age. But I used to subscribe to that horribly, and I was work extremely hard and party even harder. And that's, got me into doing some crazy things that, to this day I would never do, of course, and regret somehow. But I didn't know any different back then. Look, it's not about hard work. It's about understanding that we give our all to the purpose of purpose. If you give your all to the purpose of purpose, you will be very, very productive. And you'll be so energized, you don't know, you'll put a stop when things complete, not when you're tired. There is no off switch, because it's a beautiful dedication to producing what advances everybody equally.
Beautiful. And you don't need the reward or treat at the end of that, which entails, 20 beers on a Friday night.
No, so we could say, work purposefully and enjoy the fruits.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I find this an interesting one. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
So that's probably a truth.
Yeah.
If I'm good, I'm going to go to hell. Is that how I understand it?
Yeah. Well, you can be looking good, but if you're in, it looks like a good intention, but is it truly? And I mean, we can argue whether hell exists or not, but we've got hell on earth at the moment with the amount of good we've got, because there's so much of a lack of truth.
Show me a society that's based on the absoluteness of good, and I'll show you a society that is very much in deep disease. We have to understand the difference between truth and good. And we have to understand the difference between energetic truth and truth. And when we do that, then we will never use the word good, because we will know that the word good has come from evil itself.
Boom. Okay, that's such a bomb. We need to explore that a little bit further. Truth and good. Can we just break that down a bit? Because when I'm being good, if I'm being a good wife, I might, my husband might be checking out on Facebook for 5 hours or something like that. Say, just as an example, doesn't ever happen. But he might be checking out, etc. And I'm just good wife, do what I want to, clean the house, blah blah blah. That doesn't happen either. And there's underneath that, I'm just building resentment. I haven't been true and said, I don't feel you're really present with me right now. Let's connect. Well, what's the next advance? I'm just being good. So, I mean, that's just one basic example of good, but there's lots of forms of good in society, whereas true would say, where are you? The spunk I know, the exuberance I know isn't there. That asks them to be back in their magnificence, and that's evolutionary, whereas the other is anti-evolutionary.
Yeah, look, I've got a very good example, as we used in the last episode with reference to the word nice, because effectively we're redefining words, are we not? As well as having fun with some idioms. Look up into the sky, and if you can say, gosh, that's good. Or can you look up into the sky and go, wow, that is so magnificent. Okay, there you got it. So if that just shows you what good is. Yeah. Look up into the sky, don't ever use it down here. Why do we deserve less? We're under the night sky, so let's bring the magnificence to our everyday way of being. So where did the word good come from? Like, who invented good? What's good about the universe?
Well said. Yeah, you can't use less than magnificence. It's a complete reduction.
Correct.
Beautiful. Okay, this is an interesting one too. Let food be thy medicine. What interests me about this is that there is a certain truth to the fact that the food you eat could harm or not. But if you leave that as your greatest form of medicine, then all you're doing is creating a functional human being that looks good and ticks the healthy box, but doesn't go anyways to addressing the actual state of health that you revealed in the episode recently, which is that constant advancement, the enrichment, constant evolution of the being is actually where health is at.
If you want to discover the truth about diet, the truth about food, live magnificently first, and then you'll see what that body says yes to and what it says no to. If we do it the other way around, in other words, eat our way into magnificence, it never happens. It doesn't occur that way, because we are using warped ideals and standards that haven't been measured by the quality of magnificence. So if you feel very, very loving, what could you possibly put into your body that can match that? So we have these ideals that we celebrate with champagne, we celebrate with a cigar, we celebrate with ice cream or cake or whatever it is, birthday cake, etc. But if you truly feel magnificent on your birthday, if you truly feel magnificent in a loving moment, there is nothing but that. There is no way you need food to even equal. Food cannot equal that. It's too magnificent. What we do is we use food to come down from that level of expansion. Yes, I understand that. And I'm not a judge of that, and I don't criticize it, etc. People can do what they do. But the fact is, when you're full of magnificence, you're full. It's impossible to be hungry.
That's beautiful. And that brings me to my last idiom, which is the truth, which is what you've just said, is eat to live, not live to eat.
Yeah, Socrates was right. He was just giving us I mean, there's more advanced versions of having a relationship with food, such as the evolutionary diet. Then there's this magnificence diet. There's the universal medicine diet. There's the constellation diet. There's so many more advanced versions. But the very beginning is to live, or eat to live rather than live to eat. And Socrates was just giving us the basics. And what was that, 2,200, 2,300 years ago, or thereabouts, whatever it was, and we still haven't got it right. So what's the point of introducing the evolutionary diet if it's not going to be adhered to for another 5,000 years?
Well, you could do it.
I can do it, yes. It'll be another front page.
Or you can just do it for yourself and live an expanded life.
Look, people who, it doesn't matter what people say, there's enough, because I've lived very, very transparently, and I've let people in. Nobody can say I don't let people in close. And anyone who has been around me will say that I don't keep anything from them. Everyone knows. In fact, I can't shut up. I can't even keep secrets. So what happens is, I can't lie. The way that I live is transparent. So if it's working, let people write about it. Let people comment on that. But those that don't know me and cast projections, that's a completely different form of trying to project onto me what I'm supposed to be and what the public, let's say, want that version to be, as opposed to those who actually know me. I dare people to interview those who truly know me.
Well, that's why they never get a comment in the newspaper.
That's correct. So interview someone that actually knows me, not someone that has a gripe or has some form of jealousy.
And interestingly, when one person was asked for comment that was close to you, their comment was so mashed and bastardized, and it was put together to make it sound like they had an issue with you when they didn't at all. And so even when the truth is given to the journalists, it will be, it'll be a hatchet job anyway.
Anytime somebody does a hatchet job, they're giving away the fact that they're hiding the truth and they're afraid of the truth. So that gives it away, you know. It doesn't matter what the end result is and what people believe or not. The fact is, if I know that you have gone to extreme behavior to cut me out or to extract something out of my book, like a one line and then circle it, you know, like you're corralling the Indians or corralling the cowboys by the Indians, etc., and making it look bad or attacking it, that tells me that you're afraid of the whole truth and the whole package of it. So be it.
That's really well said, and that's the Twitter generation's modus operandi, isn't it?
That's correct.
Take a tiny slice and leave the rest, and make up with your manufactured outrage, make up a story around that compartmentalized reductionist piece and make that the reality that is called a truth, which has been completely manufactured by the garnishing of your own outrage and decontextualization. And then that becomes the currency that just circulates on Twitter and in public opinion.
It's the cheapest form of intelligence. If you take a word out of somewhere and make it what you want it to mean, what does it mean in the end? What are you trying to play with? Where's the intelligence of that? There's no cleverness of that. This is pure bullying.
Yeah.
Nothing less.
Yeah.
It's very, very cheap intelligence.
Yeah, and not only is it cheap intelligence, but it is a disgusting abuse of what you know to be true. Because if you're the one decontextualizing it, you know the whole context.
That's correct.
And for instance, you know, like one of my big bugbears is taking things out of context with your work about the role of women in society, when you're the greatest champion I know of the advancement of females in society, of women's right. You know, you've said before, men, step aside, let the sacredness of women lead here, and we might be in a different place. These are some of the quotes that could have been front page news. Instead it's, oh, you know, women shouldn't play sport. But you equally say that sport brings harm to the man's body as well, of which you're well versed because you worked in that arena for many, many years. So it's very interesting how easy it is to decontextualize something for your own agenda.
But it's not just sport, because that's just one version of it. Any form of competition is detrimental to society. Any form of comparison is detrimental to society. We will be the greatest men on the planet when we let women lead with their most exquisite sacredness. And then when men join in on that level of sacredness, look out, we will be the true humanity we were designed to be and will always be.
When is this going to happen? Because I can feel the future in that, and you are a future man, because what you model is a way of being with women that is so enriching and celebratory of the particular sacredness and qualities of a woman, that for many women that's actually quite confronting. If hardness and hurt and being tough has become your form of protection, then that amount of confirmation of the vulnerability and the sacredness of what a woman can be is going to be an affront to the protection you've created.
Yeah, the future is not defined by technology. The future is defined by our interactivity, our relationships, our expression, our way of being, our true levels of health, and our true access to multidimensionality. So we can have, whatever those mobile phones will be, and eventually we may have, as I always say, flying cars. Big deal. If we have abuse and flying cars, that's not it. And, if you have an aeroplane that can do 24 hours in the air and take us wherever, that doesn't matter. The point is, if there's a single point of abuse anywhere in the world, in any house, in any hut, in any caravan, in any tent, anywhere in the world, then we haven't advanced. And it's a very, very simple model, and all I've shown is that we can be the future now, irrespective of technology, because without a mobile phone, I can be very loving, transparent, delicate, sexy, spunky, vivacious, admiring, adoring, expansive, and always confirming of that in another and never less.
The material in this video is based upon the principles of the Ageless Wisdom, which offers an energetic understanding of life. Any references to science are references to energetic science, as presented by the Ageless Wisdom, and not to evidence-based science in mankind's current era. Any references to specific aspects of medicine are to illustrate the relevance of energetic wisdom, as presented by the Ageless Wisdom, in the interplay of bodily illness and disease, rather than contradicting the current theories of disease causation or in any way to replace epidemiology. The principles conveyed in this video are philosophical and religious, and thus are not verified within the evidence-based rationales and critical appraisal process of evidence-based science, including Consort 2010, compliant double-blind randomised controlled trials. Serge and Universal Medicine's presentations and teachings do not diagnose, treat, prevent, or offer any therapeutic cure to any disease or illness, are complementary to medicine, and are never a replacement of or alternative to conventional medicine. If you have any questions or concerns about the prevention, cause, diagnosis or treatment of any disease or illness, you should consult a registered medical practitioner.